Braja Janarandana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhav Jaya Radha Madhav Jaya Radha Madhav Jaya Radha Madhav Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jai Shri Radha Madhava ki Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya We can recite the Sanskrit and translations together. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Nara Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashta prayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed in loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I am respectful and I beg for service life after life after life. And lastly, fitting with today's class, Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Vaishnavas. Thank you so much for coming to today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we are going to be studying, we're on Canto 4, we're in chapter 21, and we're going to read through verses 37 through 52. Later on, we're going to focus on text 39. Just the translations for 37 through 52. You could Okay.
The Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas are personally glorified by their characteristic powers of tolerance, penance, knowledge, and education. By dint of all these spiritual assets, Vaishnavas are more powerful than royalty. It is therefore advised that the princely order not exhibit its material prowess before these two communities and should avoid offending them.
We shouldn't try to exhibit our material assets in front of Vaishnavas and Brahmanas. It's pointless.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ancient, eternal Godhead, who is foremost amongst all great personalities, obtained the opulence of his staunch reputation, which purifies the entire universe by worshipping the lotus feet of those Brahmanas and Vaishnavas.
Let's be very attentive while we read these verses, because service to the Vaishnavas is so important, as we'll hear.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is everlastingly independent and who exists in everyone's heart, is very pleased with those who follow in his footsteps and engage without reservation in the service of the descendants of Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. For he is always dear to Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, and they are always dear to him. By regular service to Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, one can clear the dirt from his heart and thus enjoy supreme peace and liberation from material attachment and be satisfied. In this world, there is no fruitive activity superior to serving the Brahmana class, for this can bring pleasure to the demigods for whom the many sacrifices are recommended.
Yeah, you can read two. Real quick, I just want to say, I'm not sure which purport it was in. Maybe it's in the one we're reading, but I don't think so. A Brahmana can become a Vaishnava, but a Brahmana is not necessarily a Vaishnava on their own. So a Vaishnava is higher than a Brahmana. A Vaishnava has all of the Brahminical qualifications plus complete unalloyed devotion to Krishna. So a Vaishnava is the top, supremely, devoted, worshipable Jivatma that there could possibly be.
Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ananta, eats through the fire sacrifices offered in the names of the different demigods, he does not take as much pleasure in eating through fire as he does in accepting offerings through the mouths of learned sages and devotees, for then he does not leave the association of devotees. In Brahminical culture, a Brahmana's transcendental position is eternally maintained because the injunctions of the Vedas are accepted with faith, austerity, scriptural conclusions, full sense and mind control, and meditation. In this way, the real goal of life is illuminated, just as one's face is fully reflected in a clear mirror.
O respectable personalities present here, I beg the blessings of all of you that I may perpetually carry on my crown the dust of the lotus feet of such Brahmanas and Vaishnavas until the end of my life. He who can carry such dust on his head is very soon relieved from all the reactions which arise from sinful life, and eventually he develops all good and desirable qualities. Whoever acquires the Brahmanical qualifications, whose only wealth is good behavior, who is grateful, and who takes shelter of experienced persons, gets all the opulence of the world. I therefore wish that the Supreme Personality of Godhead and its associates be pleased with the Brahmana class, with the cows, and with me.
The great sage Maitreya said, after hearing King Prithu speak so nicely, all the demigods, the denizens of Pritraloka, the Brahmanas, and the saintly persons present at the meeting congratulated him by expressing their goodwill. They all declared that the Vedic conclusion that one can conquer the heavenly planets by the action of a putra or son was fulfilled for the most sinful Vena, who had been killed by the curse of the Brahmanas, was now delivered from the darkest region of hellish life by his son Maharaja Prithu.
Similarly, Hiranyakashipu, who by dint of his sinful activities always defied the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, entered into the darkest region of hellish life. But by the grace of his great son, Prahlad Maharaj, he also was delivered and went back home, back to Godhead.
Hare Krishna. All the saintly Brahmanas thus addressed Prithu Maharaj. O best of the warriors, O father of this globe, may you be blessed with a long life, for you have great devotion to the infallible Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the master of all the universe. The audience continued, Dear Prithu, your reputation is the purest of all, for you are preaching the glories of the most glorified of all, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord of the Brahmanas. Since due to our great fortune we have you as our master, we think that we are living directly under the agency of the Lord.
Our dear Lord, it is your occupational duty to rule over your citizens. That is not a very wonderful task for a personality like you, who are so affectionate in seeing to the interests of the citizens, because you are full of mercy. That is the greatness of your character. The citizens continued, Today you have opened our eyes and revealed how to cross to the other side of the ocean of darkness. By our past deeds and by the arrangement of superior authority, we are entangled in a network of fruitive activities and have lost sight of the destination of life. Thus we have been wandering within the universe.
You can read this one too.
Dear Lord, you are situated in your pure existential position of goodness. Therefore you are the perfect representative of the Supreme Lord. You are glorified by your own prowess, and thus you are maintaining the entire world by introducing Brahminical culture and protecting everyone in your line of duty as a Kshatriya.
Thank you for reading, everyone, and I will go to text 39. Everything. Yatsevaya Shesha Guyashaya Swarad. Yatsevaya Shesha Guhashaya Swarad. Vipra Priyastushati Kamam Ishvaraha. Vipra Priyastushati Kamam Ishvara. Tadeva Tadharma Pararvinitai. Tadeva Tadharma Pararvinitai. Sarvatmana Brahma Kulam Nishivyatam. Sarvatmana Brahma Kulam Nishivyatam. Yatsevaya Shesha Guhashaya Swarad. Vipra Priyastushati Kamam Ishvara. Tadeva Tadharma Pararvinitai. Sarvatmana Brahma Kulam Nishivyatam. Please chant. Yatsevaya Shesha Guhasha Swarad. Vipra Priyastushati Kamam Ishvara. Tadeva Tadharma Pararvinitai. Sarvatmana Brahma Kulam Nishivyatam. Yatsevaya Shesha Guhashaya Swarad. Vipra Priyastushati Kamam Ishvara. Tadeva Tadharma Pararvinitai. Sarvatmana Brahma Kulam Nishivyatam. Maybe one more. Yatsevaya Shesha Guhashaya Swarad. Vipra Priyastushati Kamam Ishvara. Tadeva Tadharma Pararvinitai. Sarvatmana Brahma Kulam Nishivyatam. Okay, we'll skip the synonyms actually, because time. Okay, translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is everlastingly independent and who exists in everyone's heart, is very pleased with those who follow in his footsteps and engage without reservation in the service of the descendants of Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. For he is always dear to Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, and they are always dear to him. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. It is said that the Lord is most pleased when he sees one engaged in the service of his devotee. He does not need any service from anyone because he is complete, but it is in our own interest to offer all kinds of services to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These services can be offered to the Supreme Person not directly, but through the service of Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. Srila Narottam Das Thakur sings, Chadya Vaishnava Seva Nishtara Payeche Keva, which means that unless one serves the Vaishnavas and Brahmanas, one cannot get liberation from the material clutches Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also says, Yasya prasadan bhagavat prasada. By satisfying the senses of the spiritual master, one can satisfy the senses of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, this behavior is not only mentioned in scriptures, but also followed by acharyas. Prithu Maharaj advises his citizens to follow the exemplary behavior of the Lord himself and thus engage in the service of Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vaishnavas ki jai. Okay. So I wanted to ask you guys if you could share some examples that you can think of times when Krishna himself was engaged in serving Brahmanas or Vaishnavas. Because it's saying we need to follow in his footsteps. That means God himself serves his own devotees. Okay, what can you give her the mic? What happened in that past time?
Hey Krishna. So Krishna Dev had his best friend Sudama was a Brahmana, and Sudama was a very poor man, and he came one day to see. I don't remember the story properly, but he came one day to see Krishna, and I believe Krishna washed his
feet.
Yes,
exactly.
and Rukmini Devi served Sudama as well. And when Sudama went home, his very small cottage became a beautiful palace.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Any other examples anyone would like to share?
Well, I mean, the Battle of Kurukshetra, Krishna was the chariot driver of Arjuna. It is said that Arjuna would actually like kick Krishna and like go right, go left, like that. And lesser known story I read in Bhagavatam just like 2 days ago. Towards the end, Krishna, at one point he just seems like randomly he just decided, I'm gonna go see some of my devotees. So he went like out of his way to go to another city, and he picked up a bunch of sages on the way. He went to see a Brahmana and he went to see the Kshatriya, and he cloned himself to go see both. And just to show love, just to show respect, didn't even seem like he had a reason. He just showed his love like that.
Any other examples?
After the Battle of Kurukshetra, Yudhishthira does a sacrifice, and Krishna, they all divide, the services amongst them, and Krishna takes the service of greeting guests and washing their feet.
Wow. Yeah, Krishna is always engaged in the service of his devotees. Even when he's protecting them, that is his way of serving them. I think of like the pastime of Draupadi lifting her hands when she was getting stripped and yelling, Hey Krishna, Hey Govinda. Him supplying her unlimited sorry. This is him serving his devotee, actually. And everything that we see in our own lives, Krishna is serving us in so many ways. And all we can try to do is like how you might offer a flame to the sun or offer a handful of water back to Ganga Devi. You can just try your best to offer some little bit of service back to Krishna. But as we heard in the purport, service directly to Krishna, Krishna's not so, he doesn't really care for that so much. He doesn't need it. But service to Krishna's devotees, that's what really pleases Krishna. And as we've heard many times, we should act not to see Krishna directly, but we should act in such a way that Krishna wants to see us. And Krishna wants to see the people that are serving his devotees. Yeah, and also he says, one who claims, and I forgot to cite this, I don't remember where it comes from, but I've heard many times, one who claims to be my devotee is not my devotee. But one who claims to be a devotee of my devotee, that is my true devotee. And this is Vaishnavism at its finest. This is what we're studying. This is what we're trying to emulate and trying to instill within the core of our hearts. I am the servant of the servant of the servant. Das anu das anu das. Actually, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, this compilation of the pastimes of the Lord and his devotees, the main nectar that we gain from this book is the Vaishnava relationships and how Vaishnavas serve one another and engage with one another. It was said in one of the verses that by service to the Vaishnavas, we can clear the dirt from our heart. And I've heard the analogy that pure devotees are like crystals. I think Prabhupada Priya is not in right now, but she would remember better. I remember it from Bhakti Shastri, but it's been a while. Like pure devotees are like crystals. They can show us what's in our own heart. They magnify what's in our own heart. So whatever good is there, they magnify that, and whatever dirt is there, they reveal that to us as well, just by associating with them. And they can give us Krishna. Devotees can give us Krishna. They're the only way that we can attain Krishna, because they have him. So they can give him to us. I just have so many points here, because I was just thinking, like, there's so many ways to glorify the Vaishnavas and so many points on this topic. Our acharyas themselves, and so many, there are endless, countless bhajans of glorification of the Vaishnavas. And prayers to never be bereft of sadhu sangha and never be bereft of Vaishnav seva. This is actually the supreme goal of our lives. We're not in Krishna consciousness to serve Krishna. That's not what we're here for. We're in this movement. We're in ISKCON to serve the Vaishnavas. That's our aspiration. And the end and the means are the same. By serving Vaishnavas now, by developing loving relationships with the Vaishnavas now, then perhaps maybe we'll get the amazing fortune of becoming a servant of the servants of the servants of Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan, which is the greatest happiness that we could ever know, is to serve the devotees of the Lord. It's actually better than serving the Lord directly, because when we serve the devotees of the Lord, we get Krishna's mercy, and then we get Radharani's mercy, and then we get the gopis' mercy, and then we get the manjari's mercy, and then we get their servants' mercy, and their servants' mercy, and all the way down to us. So the mercy just grows exponentially. I was listening to a lecture by His Holiness Radhanath Swami that I've listened to countless times, but I really wanted to hear it again in regards to, like, just to freshen up and remember and really hone in on this point. And so the lecture that I was listening to was about this one devotee who has a question. He says, what is a Vaishnava? So we're meant to serve the Vaishnavas, but what is a Vaishnava? So he asks his spiritual master. His spiritual master says, go to this monastery, this ashram on this hill, and ask this question to the guru there, and he'll give you a wonderful answer. So this devotee goes, and he asks this guru, I can't remember the names. The devotee wasn't named, but the guru was named, but I can't remember right now. If anyone remembers, chime in. But he goes and he asks this guru, what is a Vaishnava? And the guru ignores him and walks away. And so this devotee, instead of thinking, oh my gosh, what a puffed up guru is this? He's thinking, oh, I must not have the qualification to hear the answer right now. So he humbles himself and he says, I should stay here and serve. Maybe by serving this guru and serving this ashram, maybe I'll develop some qualification to hear the answer, and he'll bestow his mercy upon me by answering my question at some point. So this devotee stays there for 6 months. He stays for 6 months in this ashram, just doing menial service. One day, this guru says, I want you to serve all the devotees prasadam. There's like thousands of devotees here. Says, okay, this is his mood. He's doing so much menial service. He said, this devotee was very hungry. And he says, you can eat after you serve the Vaishnavas. So he goes and he serves all these many Vaishnavas. And then everybody finishes, and he's gonna get ready to sit down and eat. And then the guru says, sorry, no, now you serve the servants, serve those who are serving the Vaishnavas. There's plenty of people that were serving the devotees prasadam, now you can serve them. So he does that. And then they finish, those servants finish, and he goes to sit down. And then the guru says, wait, all of the devotees who were serving the servants of the Vaishnavas, now we need to serve those, so can you please do that before you take prasadam? So he does this again and again and again until everybody has had prasadam except him. I can't remember if he got prasadam in the end or not, but that's not the point of the story. What happened after that is this guru answered his question. He said, I believe 6 months ago you asked me a question. You asked me, what was it you asked me? He said, I asked you, what is a Vaishnava? I said, okay. A Vaishnava, this was his answer, a Vaishnava is like a crane, like a cock, like salt, and like you. And that was all he said, and this guru walked away. And this devotee was like, are you kidding me? What kind of answer is that? What do I make of that? This doesn't make any sense. He's feeling a little bit like, oh my gosh, I just stayed here for so long and this is the answer I get. So he goes back down the hill. He goes to his Guru Maharaj, which I think is, oh no, it's not Ramanuja. No, it's around that time period. But he goes to his Guru Maharaj and he says, I just did all this service and this is the answer that I got. And his guru said, wow, what an incredible answer. This is the essence of Vaishnavism right here. So I'll explain a little bit in small details. Radhanath Maharaj went into so many details, but I'll just say a little bit about each. So a Vaishnava is like a crane. Vaishnava is like a crane because one, their feathers are spotless white and a Vaishnava's heart is completely spotless. And then the second reason a Vaishnava is like a crane is because a crane sits in the water, in the river all day and watches all these little tiny fish swim by and waits for the biggest fish. And when they see the biggest fish, that's the one that they take. And Radhanath Maharaj makes sure that we know this doesn't mean Vaishnavas eat fish. It means that a Vaishnava will go about his business in the world and hear so many mundane topics, mundane conversations, and doesn't really pay much attention to them or engage. But when this Vaishnava hears some Krishna Katha or some glorification of other devotees, the Vaishnava is very eager to join in on that conversation. So this is why a Vaishnava is like a crane. A Vaishnava is like a cock, like a chicken, rooster, that's the word. Because a rooster will go to these dirty places. I guess in India, this is how roosters are. They'll go to these dirty places. I mean, in America, they're usually kept in like very like nice like farms or awful cages. Anyways, but they'll go to these dirty places, like trashy places, just places that have all this, unwanted stuff there. And they'll search for seeds. They'll search all day for one seed, and when they find that seed, they'll not just take it for themselves, but they'll collect as many as they can and distribute them to their families. So in this way, a Vaishnava is like that, because we can be in the association of any type of person, but we'll find good qualities and we'll share that with the world. And then a Vaishnava is like salt. A Vaishnava is like salt because if you have a meal and you don't put any salt, everyone's going to wonder, where's the salt? Oh my gosh, this doesn't have any salt. What am I gonna do now? I have to go find the salt and I have to put the salt. Everybody's wondering where the salt is at. But if the salt is put there nicely, nobody compliments the salt. They say, wow, the ginger in this meal is so nice. Oh my gosh, I can really taste the cumin. It's like bursting with flavor. But nobody says, oh my gosh, the salt in here is just perfect. Maybe sometimes we'll say that. But usually it's the other flavors. Wow, this meal is so amazing. The broccoli is like really wonderful. It's, So in a similar way, Vaishnavas, no, they don't really get glorified so much, or they don't expect glorification for all that they do. But if they aren't there, everybody will notice. If a Vaishnava is not there, the whole world is going to like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? There's no Vaishnavas. And then lastly, like you, this guru said to this devotee, a Vaishnava is like you because of how he served. He served all of the devotees, and then he served all the servants, and then he served the servants of the servants, like that. And this is our aspiration. We're trying to become like this devotee, like this Vaishnava, to become the servants of the servant of the servant of the servant. Yeah. It's kind of like, and this is the most pleasing thing to Krishna. In a similar way that I've given this analogy before, that by pleasing some children, like if there's some children present with their families, if you play with the children, if you engage with the children, the parents are automatically pleased. They're gonna love you. And I have this experience because I love the kids, and so their parents, like, they appreciate me as well. And this is the same way that by serving the Vaishnavas, Krishna becomes pleased with us. And so when saintly devotees come into our presence, like we just had Sadhu Sangha with so many amazing devotees we had. We still have Giriraj Maharaj here, we had Radhanath Swami here, Indradyumna Maharaj, Vaisheshika Prabhu, Kalakanta Prabhu, Chandramoli Maharaj. There's just so many, too many to name. When these saintly devotees come, we're naturally inspired to serve them. As people practicing sadhana bhakti, it's just within the core of our heart that we see these saintly devotees and we just want to serve them. It's actually a measure of our how attentively and sincerely we're chanting our japa. It's said in one purport in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. I wrote it somewhere. The test that one is chanting nicely is one's sincere, enthusiastic desire to serve. So the better we chant, the more this desire comes, and vice versa. The more we serve, the better we chant. But I was thinking when I was taking notes for this class that maybe sometimes, I don't know about you guys, perhaps not most of you, but myself, I can become a little too familiar with the devotees that I'm around all the time. Like, I was just thinking, we constantly have the association of Ritatwaja Maharaj and Chakri Prabhu and Sucharya Mataji, and I mean, again, too many to name, so many amazing devotees. And we can become a little bit familiar, oh, they're always here. But when these out-of-town devotees come, we become so enthusiastic to serve. So really, the test of our chanting, the test of our sincerity is, how do I serve the devotees that I'm around all the time? Not just, Prabhupada disciples, but how do I serve each of you? How do I serve Dustin? How do I serve Antare and Ajit and Prabhupada Priya and Nandabraj and Tulsi Saki? How do I serve those around me? And we can always go into our heart and find that inclination, find that desire to serve and offer it to whatever devotee is around us at any given time. In a community like this one, we are never bereft of an opportunity to serve the Vaishnavas. So this prayer sung by these acharyas over and over again, please let me stay in the service of the Vaishnavas. We have this constantly, and so we need to take complete and full advantage of that at all times. Our constant prayer should be that, let me stay in the service of the Vaishnavas. And then I wanted to share this analogy also. Like when we are presented with a plate of prasadam, but we're not that hungry, or maybe something's wrong with our stomach, we can take prasadam, but we don't have the power to fully absorb it and fully take advantage of the nutrients. So in a similar way, in Krishna consciousness, we're surrounded by this Krishna consciousness 24 hours a day. But service to the Vaishnavas is what increases our ability to digest this submission and sincere service attitude. This is our digestive fire that allows us to fully take advantage of the association surrounding us and the opportunities surrounding us. Srimad Bhagavatam class and the evening class at Krishna House and the artis throughout the day, the kirtan, Sunday feast. In order to take advantage of these things, we have to have this sincere desire to serve those around us. Okay, those are my points that I wanted to make today. And now we can open up for discussion. I'd love to hear any comments or questions or corrections.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, thank you so much. Nice class. I was just thinking, I like the point you said, or I thought it was relevant when you said, when the devotees are around us, maybe we become familiar when they come from out of time. I noticed that too, like when I first joined this movement, I joined in Toronto, and His Holiness Bhakti Marg Maharaj resides there, and he was always with us with the Bhakti Academy, and he was kind of like a grandfather figure or something like that. I really appreciated it him, but somehow I didn't see him so much as a guru. I just saw him like somebody who's just really sweet and really cares about me. But it's only when I left and I went to Ottawa that I realized just how much of an exalted, like, spiritual master he was. So, what is it called? Vipralamba Bhav, I think. It's,
Separation.
separation. So, how do we mitigate that, or how do we deal with that when we are always in association of devotees? How do we always keep in mind that how elevated they are and how much we should serve them? Like, how do we do that?
Yeah, I mean, first thought that comes to mind, I love to hear what Prabhupada Priya or anyone else has to say, but we need to constantly be hearing the glories of Vaishnavas, and constantly endeavoring to discuss the glories of Vaishnavas with other devotees who can relish those glories. And then again, like the purport in Chaitanya Charitamrita, when we chant very attentively in this mood of Trinadapi Sunichena, a humble state of mind, offering all respect to others and expecting none in return, that keeps us from becoming too complacent and too familiar with the exalted souls that are surrounding us. And so those are a couple of thoughts that I have. Anyone want to add on to that? Prabhupada Priya, maybe?
Hare Krishna. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to just, like, I was quite touched by some of these verses that we read today about how the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his good reputation is based on the fact that he serves Vaishnavas. So what to speak of us? He sets the example himself by serving Vaishnavas like it's the most glorious, amazing, fun thing to do. The most uplifting, inspiring thing to do is serve devotees. That's what Krishna does. Like, he's the supreme enjoyer, and he could be doing anything with his time. And what is he doing? He's serving the Vaishnavas in so many different ways, and all of his leelas. Vrindavan Leela, Mathura Leela, Dwarka Leela, So, and yet we're thinking, people should serve me. The Vaishnavas should serve me. So, yeah, it's a symptom of our material disease. But the more we hear about, like hearing the glories of the Vaishnavas, how, devotees are so rare and so special. And anyone who's even chanting Hare Krishna, we should offer our respects. Anyone who's, initiated devotee, we should be offering our obeisances to. And anybody who's really dedicated their life to spreading Krishna consciousness, we should serve and very humbly serve. So, we need to just keep being reminded of these things all the time, and also try to look for good qualities in the Vaishnavas that are around us. Because like you said, we can become over familiar and start seeing faults and becoming critical. And even if faults are there, it's like we don't have to wait until a devotee is perfect before we serve them. I was talking to a senior devotee this weekend, and she was like, I don't know what to do. The senior devotees in my community are like this and that and the other thing, and it's so discouraging, and I don't know if there's any hope for me or anybody. And she was like really becoming hopeless. And I was like, you don't have to wait for them to be perfect. Don't expect them to be perfect. We're in Kali Yuga. It's an ocean of faults. They're going to be faults. It's just amazing that anybody's chanting Hare Krishna in this day and age and come and offering service voluntarily in the world where everybody is just like out for themselves and chasing after material things. So, it's a very rare soul who even thinks about, living the life of a devotee in this day and age. So, we have to really appreciate and respect and see the good qualities of those who are at least even trying to.
Like the rooster.
Yeah.
We'll find that seed.
Yeah.
We'll spend all day trying to find that seed. Yeah. Thank you. Any other discussion points?
We can go on book distribution regularly. Sometimes we got a nice situation with people who are really showing good qualities, right? And we forget when we go outside of our community, some of the things that people are dealing with. If we voluntarily go out and see how the world is outside of our nice community, we can get a different perspective. Just ask the grihastas that have to go to the office. Right? If we don't appreciate, I want to put an asterisk here. I'm not saying that people are in this situation, but if we don't appreciate it, sometimes we can say that Krishna will put us in that situation. He'll tell you, he'll go, okay, fine. We'll get a job out here where he'll give you some perspective of how nice the Vaishnavas are.
Beautiful. I was also thinking, there's this one bhajan by Devaki Nandana Das. It's called the Vaishnava Vandana. And I was told that devotees in Vrindavan, they'll chant this to kind of put up a shield in their heart against making offenses to Vaishnavas. And so I chant it whenever I remember to. So maybe you guys can look it up. It's glorifying all the various types of Vaishnavas. Vaishnavas in Bengal, Vaishnavas in Vrindavan, Vaishnavas in any country, wherever they may reside, and Vaishnavas that aren't even Vaishnavas yet, any Vaishnava that ever will be. It's just such a beautiful bhajan, and it explains some of the glories of the Vaishnavas, that they're like desire trees, and they can grant us any desire, especially that, it says, especially that rarest treasure not found in this world, Krishna Prem. Yeah, so we can also sing this bhajan or sing bhajans like that in glorification of the Vaishnavas to instill it in our hearts. Manjri Gopika.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for a very nice class. I just wanted to share a couple thoughts to add to this wonderful discussion. As Prabhupada Priya pointed out, sometimes maybe we lose perspective because we come to the temple every day and we forget of how few devotees there actually are in the world. I mean, I actually read an article the other day, Anuttama Prabhu from ISKCON Communications. He said they estimated like 100,000 devotees in the world.
Wow.
And if you compare that to the millions, billions of people, so we can recognize that that's just initiated devotees, I believe. But how special and rare devotees are. And I listened to a class by my spiritual master the other day. I shared it in the Bhagavatam group. And the theme of the class was do not mistreat anyone. And Ramnath Maharaj was saying, because you don't know who anyone truly is. And he gave all these examples from the scripture. Said Ajay and Vijay didn't recognize the four Kumaras as great sages. So how can you, everyone that comes to the temple, we should offer our respects to. And every advanced devotee, he said, was once a new devotee and then was a junior devotee serving before they got this recognition. So we have to really instill that in our minds, to not just offer obeisances to the Maharajas in Saffron who we know are preaching globally, but the members of our community who are rare jewels. And one last thing, where I pass it on, there is this, one of my favorite verses from Srimad Bhagavatam. It's in the 11th canto. It's 11:2-6. Maybe everybody could take a look at that later. The purport is wonderful. But just briefly, the translation is, those who worship the demigods receive reciprocation for the demigods in a way just corresponding to the offering. The demigods are attendants of karma, like a person's shadow, but sadhus are actually merciful to the fallen.
Wow.
And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that how powerful, he translates sadhu as devotees, how powerful devotees are, because they are the ones who can actually transform your life. They're actually higher than demigods. Because demigods only give you what your karma says, and devotees can negate your karma completely.
Wow, thank you.
I just wanted to share a pastime of Prabhupada, that he would treat everybody with respect. And there was one time where I think he was giving I don't know exactly the situation, but I know that somebody who wasn't, devotee or just somebody new around, he saw Prabhupada exhibiting symptoms of like anger. And then this person, Prabhupada didn't know him at all, and he said, he's like, you're supposed to be like a great saint. Like, why don't you just calm down and chant Hare Krishna? And a lot of us, we would get like offended, be like, who are you to tell me what to do and blah blah blah. And Prabhupada, he just paused and he grabbed his beads and he started chanting Hare Krishna. And I just thought it showed like so much humility that he could see like Krishna and everybody being like, okay, Krishna is giving me instruction now, I should chant.
Goodness.
So yeah.
That's powerful, yeah. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, and kind of related to what Manjari Gopika was saying in the beginning is like, yeah, anyone who walks into the temple, we should see, we don't know who this person is. And even on book distribution, and even when we go into the rough city of New York and we see all these crazy people on the subway, a pure devotee is going to look at these people and see actually inside of their heart. They don't know it right now, but they are a pure servant of Krishna. And so we don't serve them in the same way that we would serve the people who are practicing, presently practicing sadhana bhakti Vaishnavism. But we can offer them the same respect nonetheless, and we can serve them in different ways. We can serve them by trying to help them remember their relationship with Krishna. And we can serve them by not taking offense when they do something that is maybe worth taking offense from. Yeah. So we can see everybody as a Vaishnava in some capacity. Any final comments? We have 2 minutes left, but I don't mind cutting it short. Oh.
Hare Krishna. I just wanted to add a little lecture that Srila Prabhupada did on Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.6. He says, we don't make any distinction that a man can be better Krishna consciousness than woman. No, a woman can be better Krishna consciousness because they are very simple. They can accept any religious system. Generally, the women, they accept it. Because they are very simple. They have no crooked mind. Sometimes they're exploited, therefore. So in the spiritual platform, there is no such distinction. And this was the lecture he gave in Montreal. So I feel like that could conclude everything. There's no distinction between the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavas to be. So we should really offer our respect to everyone who serves the Supreme Lord.
Yeah, male, female, young, old. These are just bodies anyways. Yeah, beautiful. Okay. If that's everything. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Vancha you can go to breakfast. I'm just